Let's go at the top here and instantiate and create a member variable of type prefs, because prefs class like that. Let's import our prefs. Notice is util prefs, which is inside of our utils at the top. Okay, and I'm gonna call this, well, just prefs. That's fine. And on main, I'm gonna go ahead and say prefs is equal to new prefs, and of course we have to pass this because that's the activity, the context we need to pass. Perfect. So we have that now. What are we going to do? Well, you'll notice the logic here goes as following. So we need to fetch the moment that we are done with the session so we can actually save the amount of breaths. So once they finalize, that's going to be their first one. And when was the last time that this happened? So the time in which we finished our session and the total minutes. So the moment, if this is the first time, we are just going to say 1. If this is the second time, we're going to say 2 and so forth. That's all. So there's 3 things that we have to save. Now, where do we save this? Well, we save that inside of our start animation, but most importantly, inside of our on stop. But this is going to be where the animation is done, which signifies that our session is done. We are going to, of course, say prefs. That's the object we already have. I'm going to say .set sessions. Okay. So to set session, we have to pass an integer. Where do we get that integer from? Well, what are we going to do to be smart about this? Because we don't know if this is their first session, if this is the first time of them opening the app, or second time. But because we know that each time, if this is the first time, there's always 0 in all of the instantiation of our shared preferences, which means, because we are smart developers, what are we going to pass here? We're going to actually call prefs again. Say .get sessions, because it's an integer. It's going to be 0 for first time. I'm going to actually add 1, knowing if this is actually their second time. So it's going to take whatever we have saved previously. If in the previous session they had already 2 or 3 or 1, or whichever number, we're just adding 1 because we just finished this session. Okay, I'm going to do the same. Prefs.set breaths. Prefs again. .get breaths. And then we're going to add 1. Keep going. Prefs.set date. Now for here, what I need to do, I'm going to call system. Okay, this is system. Let's use system clock that get current thread time in millis as such. So we are getting the system clock of the device to give us the accurate time in milliseconds, which we need to set our date. So now what we need to do is to make sure that we actually add those values into our text views. Fair enough. At the top here, what we can do, I'm going to go ahead and say session text. I'm going to say set text to, I'm going to just put here prefs, right? Because preference object will have the preference that we have saved. Say .get sessions, like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to append here, I'm going to say min today. So if it's 4 minutes, then it's going to be 4 min today. Okay, and we have this squiggly yellow warning here. That means that we can actually do better. So click here. I'm going to say replace plus with string format. There we go. And it looks like we still have a problem. Let's see what other options we have. Let's see, click here. There's a few ones here. So I'm going to be a little bit adventurous and use this replace plus with java.text message format format. So it's a new class that we can use to format text. So let's click that and voila. So it calls it message format and passes here min today. The 0 is going to be, of course, whatever we're getting here. So that's just something that our IDE, Android Studio here, helps us with. Okay, so to format our text. There we go. So obviously I'm going to do the same thing with our breaths text. Oh, right, set text. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say message format. Okay, I'm going to pass here 0, just like where it helps what they did before. Of course, we don't have to type it all in, but I will do anyway. Let's say breaths, like that. I'm going to say prefs.getBreaths. There we go. Fun. Now for time text, set text, I'm just going to go ahead and pass the time. Prefs.getDate. Sorry, getDate. There we go. Now remember this getDate here will call, go back to prefs here, the getDate. What it does, it actually create a string that will have hour, minute, and AM or PM. It looks like we don't need the space there. So I think we are good for now. Let's give it a quick run and see how this will all work. Let's save this and run. Okay, so right away it gives 0 breaths, 0 minutes, and 16 PM. Okay, that's just default, and we can actually change that to something. So the moment we start, let's start. Do it about 7 times. There we go. Now let's get out of here. Let's go ahead and run again. We should have, says 1 breath, 1 minute today, and our time is still the same, says 16 PM. Let's see, what is the problem? Let's perhaps just call system.millis. Maybe that will help us better here. Current millis. Let's try this, give it a run. Let's give it a run and see. Okay, let's run again. We should see, hopefully, the correct time. Still saying 16 PM. At least it still says 2 breaths and 2 minutes today. So everything is good except our time. Let's investigate further here. Here's the problem. We're actually not saving it. In fact, it says here, shared preferences without a corresponding commit or apply, we're going to have issues. That's the problem. So if you forget to say apply, guess what? It's not going to save. That was the problem. Okay. In fact, I think we can go back here and add the correct one. Let's try the actual system. Android clock.current thread millis. All right, let's see what is it that we're gonna get this time. We should get all good. Okay, let's run one more time. All right, there we go. So if we run once again, we should have 3 and hopefully the correct date. All right, it seems like the system clock current thread time millers is not working. So let's change this to what I usually use anyway. Okay, that's system dot current time in millis instead of the clock. All right, so let's give it a quick run here. Let's see, this should work now. Let's run this. All right, let's get out of here and run again. We should see probably the correct time and 12:30 p.m. and it is indeed 12:30 at this time. You can see here it says 12:30. Very nice, and we did 5 today. Very cool. Now you notice once this is all done, so we know everything has been saved, everything is great. Now you notice if you run again, this will start a new session. Inhale, let's start a new one, exhale. So it all works great because we started a new section, like we ran the app again. Okay, so that's great. Okay, now you notice if I start, before I get out of here, I start a new section, it's going to start, but something has happened. We don't have the rotation, which is crucial to our application. So we lost something here. The reason why is because when we say on stop, we are scaling our image view, which then we actually lose the rotation. And also we notice at the end we have the good job, and it goes back, of course, to breathe. We are going to create a new object called countdown timer. This will allow us to give ourselves some time to restart our activity, so that way we start over, and then we will be able to actually see the new stats and be able to create a fresh view, so users can actually start the new session if they wish to do so. Okay, but for that not to be a too quick of a transition, we are going to use the countdown timer, so that it gives a little bit of time. We can actually set how long we want to wait before we refresh our view, refresh our activity, so everything is fresh again. That means that at the bottom here, this is inside of our start animation, right? Inside of our on stop, we are going to refresh activity such. So I'm going to create, say, new countdown timer. Notice it's a class that comes with the Android.os package. And what I'm going to do here, we need to pass the milliseconds in the future and, of course, the countdown interval. So how often we want this to happen. So the milliseconds in the future, I'm just going to put it to 1,000 milliseconds. Okay, and then for the countdown interval, I'm going to just go ahead and put 1 second, so the interval in which we are going to be waiting. So we're going to wait for about 2,000 milliseconds, and the interval, the ticking, if you will, right? It's going to be every 1 second. Put it like that, enter. And of course, because it's an interface, I'm going to go ahead and implement the method. The method that we're going to implement are those two. In fact, we're actually not going to use all of them. Now you notice the on tick here, we can actually put whatever we want. If we wanted to have the time changing, so as it ticks, we can change a text view or whatever we want to do. Okay, but we're not going to be using that. We're interested in using the on finish, because this is when, once the timer is out, we want them to do something. In this case, we want to refresh our activity, and the way we do that, we're just going to go ahead and restart this current activity. So I'm going to say start activity. We've used this before. I'm going to pass new intent. Well, say new intent. And I'm going to pass the get application context because we are here in this activity, and I want to go to main activity dot class, which is where? Still here. So I'm refreshing this current activity here. The next thing we need to do here is if we just leave it as it is right now, it will all work fine, meaning we are going to refresh and create a new activity. However, we are going to end up having a pile of different activities, right, as we keep using the application. So we're going to call the finish method, which will just get rid of the previous activity when we are opening a new activity or refreshing this current activity. All right, and of course our countdown timer needs to be started, so we need to actually call start for it to start counting. Okay, so I'm going to say here put code to show ticking, like 1, 2, 3, etc., or vice versa, or from 3 to 1. All right. There it is. There we go. So now, if we go back, let me give it repeat count of about 6 like we had before. In fact, let's give 5. Let's run this. We should be able to see magic, folks. All right, let's start. Inhale, exhale, starting our... And you notice here it says our last time was at 12:33 p.m. There we go. Notice the moment you do that, it takes a few minutes and refreshes everything for us to be able to actually go back and start a new session if we wish to do so. And notice now we have 10 breaths, and 12:38 was the last time. 10 minutes total that we've done this. And if we start again, notice that our animation will resume as it's supposed to be. Very cool. Very cool. Now, next thing I want to do here, I'm going to change, because this 12:38 p.m. or the time, it makes no sense in a sense, right? Because it's like, well, I don't know, is it the current time or what this is? So I'm going to say here last breath or something. So I'm going to just say something like last. Look at that, right? So I'm going to change that. Let's go to where we're setting that up. In fact, we could go to our preferences. I'm going to just say here last. Okay, let's give it a run. Look, there we go. Last knows last time was at 12:39 p.m. Very cool. So we have here, folks, built from scratch a replica of the current Apple III Breathe app. Okay, seriously, really, we have the animation, we're saving the times, we're saving the sessions, and we have everything else that the app has. Of course, if you have an actual Apple III, you notice that a few things we didn't really add it to our app. But the basics, the bare bone basics and a little bit more are all done for you. We've been able to do that. And that, my friend, is amazing. It's great. All right, I hope you're getting excited. And this is one of the things that I would like you to do is whenever you're stuck, where you're thinking, well, what application should I build, right? For testing purposes, or if you want to continue to build up your portfolio, the best way is to go and find applications that you like, right? They could be simple or a little bit harder, doesn't matter. Just find an application that you like, you think it's going to be a great example for you to actually pursue, and just mimic it. Figure out how to create yourself. That's the best way to do it. Of course, it may not be easy, but guess what? Nothing worthwhile is easy, right? So get into the habit of being a little bit more ambitious in terms of your technical skills. So if there's something that you want to build, you're not quite sure how to do it, remember, all of us go through that, right? We have to figure out, okay, how do I solve this problem? And the internet is your friend. I'm here for you. You can always ask questions, and I will do my best to guide you through the process of getting that idea, that application you want to build, for you to actually be able to build it. All right? Perfect. Well, congratulations for getting to this point, and I'm very excited. And as usual, play around with this concept, make it better. Please go ahead and do more research to know exactly other features of the app that I'm talking about here, the one that we just built for Apple Watch 3, version 3, and just go from there. Again, don't hold back. Just do it. Do it. Ask questions, figure things out, and I'm here for you. Wonderful. Congratulations, and I'll see you next time.